Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'll just introduce myself first of all. I'm Anna, and I work within the Education Division at TextHelp. You can see my details are on your screen now. So if you need any help with anything to do with your Read and Write subscription, anything at all, you can get in touch with me using either the email address or the phone number on your screen now, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. Just in case anybody is new to GoToWebinar and hasn't used it before, just to let everybody know that they are in listen-only mode today. So if you have a question throughout the webinar today, then please do ask using the questions panel, which is built into GoToWebinar. So you can see an image of the GoToWebinar window on my screen. And within the questions section, you can type your question here. Once you click send, I'll get a notification on my end to let me know that somebody has asked a question. So please do feel free to ask any questions throughout the webinar, and I will answer those at the end of the webinar. I'll hang around for about 10 minutes or so after we've finished up today, just to answer any questions. So please do feel free to ask. So we know that Read and Write can help with reading, writing, research, and organisation. But today we're going to focus solely on how it can help with writing and support in the writing process. We'll talk about the writing process in more detail throughout the webinar today and see which tools can help with each stage. This can just give you a brief preview of some of the features that we'll talk about today. We want to apply a basic approach to this. And by that I mean building student independence, allowing the freedom for them to be able to use the tools, start small, identify the tech, and create the opportunity. Now, when it comes to writing an essay or completing a piece of coursework, it's not as simple as starting with a blank page and writing down a complete, ready to hand in piece of work. It's a much longer process than that. You start with the pre-writing phase, where you're brainstorming and gathering ideas. Then you move on to drafting and getting those ideas down on paper. Revising your work, changing up the word choice and clarifying your message so you're sure that what you're trying to say is really coming across in the best way. You can then edit this by revising the order and focusing on any spelling mistakes or punctuation. And then it comes to publishing and handing that piece of work in for feedback and review. Now, since TextHelp started, supporting struggling readers and writers was always at the forefront of our goals. And this continues to be the case today as we develop our software. Just to give you an example of this was a book report which was written by a student before being introduced to Read and Write. After using Read and Write, the same student was able to complete the same book report and produce the following. So today we'll look at the tools which can help your students improve the quality and content of their writing. So let's take a look at Read and Write in action. And do remember, if you have a question at any stage, don't feel like you have to hold your questions to the end. You can ask those throughout, and I will pick those up at the end of the webinar. Even if it's something as straightforward as, can you go over that section again if you missed anything, or maybe I went a little bit too quickly through one of the features, then you can certainly ask me to do that as well. Just move away from my presentation now, and I'll open up a blank Word document, and I will launch the Read and Write for Windows toolbar, which we'll look at initially today, and then we are going to move over to the Google Chrome toolbar as well. So firstly, we'll look at the pre-writing stage. This includes brainstorming, background research, and gathering ideas. So students can have loads of original ideas, but can sometimes be overwhelmed looking at a blank page like this and not knowing how to get started. We often feel like we need to start by writing out the introduction and then moving on to the main points of our essay. However, prior to doing this, it could be a really good idea to note down some of your ideas for the main points that you'd like to make in your essay. It's really easy to forget about some of your ideas that you've had, so you can note these down quickly and easily using our voice note feature. This will insert an audio file directly into your document, which you can then revisit at a later stage. If I click on the voice note icon, I'll just click into my document now, and then click on the voice note icon. Once you're ready to start recording, click on the little microphone icon. I've had a really fantastic idea for this essay, so I'm going to insert it as a voice note into this blank document so that I don't forget it. Press stop to stop recording, and then you can insert that directly into your document. So you can see that it has appeared over at the side here. I'm just going to zoom out slightly from my page. So you can see that it says Anna Coburn a few seconds ago has left this voice note. If I double click that, it will open with my default media player. I've had a really fantastic idea for this essay, so I'll just press pause there. So you can remember to revisit that idea, and then you can leave any additional comments to your voice note as well. And that is just that audio reminder so that I know exactly what I want to include within my essay. So it's another way of really putting down all of your brainstorming ideas so that you don't forget anything and don't leave anything out. Now, while we're completing some research as well, we might be doing some background research and find some useful information, either in a book or PDF or a web page. So Read&Write can help make this accessible really quickly and easily. So the first feature that we'll look at today is the scanner. So if they find some useful information in a book or a PDF file or online, they can use the scanning feature within Read&Write to make that text accessible so they can include it really easily within their report or assignment. Click on the scanning icon, and this will open the scanning window. So we can choose to scan from device or scan from file. So if you wanted to scan from a paper book, then you could use a flatbed scanner and scan from a device. Or if you had a PDF file in your computer, if you downloaded it from a website and it was a PDF file, for example, you can find it within your files. So I'll select a file that I have, which is of mice and men. So you can see that there are 54 pages here. So I'm going to scan the first 4 pages because that's where the content is that I would like to include within my essay. So at this stage, I can choose to make a PDF file or a Word document. In this case, I'm going to select Word document and click Scan. I'll choose a file name and then save this. And you can see that OCR scanning is now in progress. So what this will do is to scan this information that I have in a PDF file and convert this into a Word document for me. So you can see this has opened up a brand new Word document with all of the content from those first 4 pages that I had scanned. So the student can then manipulate the text within this document using the full editability of Microsoft Word. So they can add to or remove any of this text, and they can manipulate this document. So for example, if the student had to use lots of quotations to back up their findings, they can scan in their PDF or their book, and they can just simply add speech marks around any of the quotations that they would like to include, rather than having to type out lots of quotations. This would have been really useful for me when I was completing my dissertation at university, because I had to include loads and loads of quotations in my work, and I can remember taking pictures of library books using my mobile and then having to type out all of those quotes and making sure that everything matched word by word, and it really did take a long time. So this would have been so helpful for me at that stage, and I think it would be really helpful for your students as well. So if students were online and gathering some research, we'll stick with of mice and men at the moment, and I'll find a link here. So if they're online and want to gather some information, they could use the study skills section within the toolbar. So we've got the highlighters, clear highlights, and collect highlights, which will all be really important during this process. So using the highlighters, you can collect as much information as you need. Changing the colour of the highlight if you wish as well. Now I'm actually just going to switch over to the Read&Write for Google Chrome toolbar now, because my Word toolbar is just playing up a little bit there. So we'll switch over now, just a little bit ahead of schedule, and we'll use the highlighting colours here. So you can see that the toolbar is now floating on my screen. This is our web toolbar for Google Chrome, and I just launched that by using this little icon on the Google taskbar. So I'll just highlight some of this text, and you can change the colour of the highlights if you wish. So this is great for any students that want to coordinate their highlights for research. And just as a quick side note, if you do highlight anything and then decide, actually, I'm not going to collect that, then you can just use this little paintbrush icon to clear those highlights. So once you have highlighted all of the information that you want to gather, you can use the Collect Highlights feature. If I click this, you can choose to sort your highlights by colour or by position within the web page or document. I'll stick with colour, and you can choose which colours you want to collect as well. I'll just choose to collect all of my colours, but if I only wanted to collect certain colours, I can just untick those. Press OK, and you can see this little pop-up window at the right-hand side which said a new Google Doc is being created with your highlights, and you can see that this has created this hyperlink, which I can then go back and revisit this website as well. So it will insert this bibliography at the end of our text. So the student can then, just close that down. So the student can then, again, add quotations to this if they wish, or they can manipulate this text and use it to help them while building ideas for their essay or assignment. The highlights can be kept in place until you're ready to submit your work, just so you know what exactly you have pulled from the internet as well. But then once you're ready to hand in this work and you've got your quotation marks around anything that you're directly quoting, you can then clear the highlights. So these features will definitely save students time when gathering ideas and completing their research for assignments. So the next stage of the writing process is then drafting. So getting ideas down on the page, and some features that will help with this are the prediction feature and talk and type. So the prediction feature is the one that looks like a crystal ball, and talk and type is the little headphones with the microphone. So we'll start off with prediction, which is another great tool to help students when they're writing. So it works in a similar way to predictive text on your phone. So when a student is typing written work, they can click on the prediction icon and a panel will then appear that starts to populate with words as you start typing. So this helps with spelling as well. So if a student is stuck with the ending of the word, then the prediction feature helps suggest different options. This helps students be more confident in their spelling and form more complex sentences. So I have just clicked at the bottom of this piece of text, and now I'll click on the prediction icon. When the feature is turned on, it is underlined in purple and grayed out, so you can see that that is turned on. So now if I start to type
once up upon,
so you can see any words that I hover over are read aloud.
Time.
And I can then click on the word within the list, and that will insert the word for me. Now I'm just going to pop over into the options at the right hand side, because you could see that I was only getting 3 options being suggested there. So I'm just going to increase that within the options. So if you click into the options, which is the settings menu within Read and Write for Google Chrome, then click on prediction on the left hand side. I can then up this number to 10 results rather than 3. Press OK and that will be saved. So now when I turn on the prediction panel, you can see that it is suggesting 10 words for me in that list.
Upon a time when
So the student can either select the word within the list, or they can just type the word and use the prediction panel as reinforcement for their spelling. So I could choose to type the word sun, or I could hover over any of the words in the list and select them from there.
Up.
So you can see that this will, again, give the student the reinforcement that it is a suitable word that they're using. The prediction panel doesn't have to be turned on at all times. So for example, if a student was using it as a spelling aid rather than for suggestions, then if they got confused by the end of a word, then they can turn on the prediction feature halfway through, and that will help them with the ending of the word as well. It is also a dyslexia friendly or spelling friendly prediction panel as well. So for example, if I start to type my favorite, you can see that even though I started to spell that word incorrectly quite early on within the word, it is still suggesting the word favorite there. Another example of that is if I spelled physics incorrectly, it is
Physics.
suggesting the word physics for me.
And
So if I click on that, it will be corrected within the text as well. So you can see that I started off with 3 suggestions there. So if some of your students may be overwhelmed with too many choices, you can reduce this number down to as little as 3 or maybe in and around 5. But if a student is really trying to increase their vocabulary and variety of words that they use, they can increase this number up to 10. Also, the student doesn't have to choose any of these words. They're just there as an aid and they can type out whatever they like. Once you're finished with the prediction panel, just turn it off there. So now we'll have a look at the talk and type or speech input feature. So some students may prefer to use the talk and type or speech recognition software. If they have a microphone built into their laptop or a headset with a microphone, then they can simply talk into this and Read&Write will convert that into text. So this is a shortcut for the talk and type feature of Read&Write for Google Chrome. So if I click on this, you can see that the microphone was red as soon as I clicked on the feature. So that means that it is live and recording. So if you're not quite ready to start recording yourself, then you can just click it and it will sit here on the screen just as an idle microphone. So you can turn that on once you're ready. My favorite subject is physics. So you can see that that just simply typed out that word that sentence that I had spoken there. As you can imagine, speech recognition software sometimes isn't particularly good with the Northern Irish accent, but as you can see, this is really accurate even with my accent. And then once you've finished recording, you can just close down talk and type. I'm just going to take a really short break here because I can see that some questions have come through now. So I'll just have a quick look at that and then we'll resume the webinar and talk about revising and editing stages of the writing process, okay? So if you do have a question, then you can pop it into the questions panel now and I'll be able to have a look at it, or you can hold off until the end of the webinar. Okay, the questions do seem to be quite specific for individual people, so I'll be able to pick those up at the end of the webinar if that's okay. If you don't mind hanging around for a couple of minutes, I'll be able to respond to all of those individually, okay? So now we'll talk about the revising process within the writing process. So at this stage, the student may want to change word choice, clarify the message, and just revise some of the sentences that they have written. So the dictionary feature within Read&Write for Google Chrome or within Read&Write for Windows will help to improve vocabulary and support comprehension. So the word dictionary provides you with a definition of the term you've had selected. So I will select a complex word here within this text, and you can see that it has given me this definition. I can hear this definition read aloud as well.
Noun. a labourer who moves from place to place as demanded by employment, itinerant traders and quot.
So you can have any of those definitions read aloud as well to have that further reinforcement. So this will help a student by reinforcing that they're using words correctly and in the correct context. Sometimes it can also provide synonyms and help build vocabulary that way as well. So to activate the dictionary panel, all I had to do was to highlight an unfamiliar word within the text, and then you click on the dictionary icon, which is the little book symbol within the toolbar. So you can keep that dictionary panel open alongside your work, and then it will update with any words that you have highlighted within the text. You can close down the dictionary panel when you're not using it and then open it again, really, really easily. So now we can revise the order and focus on the mechanics such as spelling, sentence structure and punctuation, which all form the editing process of refining your work before you would be ready to hand it in. So the first thing we'll look at within the editing process is using text-to-speech. So we've covered text-to-speech quite a lot within our webinar series as a tool to help students when they're reading. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about the voice settings and setting up the voice today because we have covered that quite a lot. But I just wanted to let you know that this can also come in really useful for students when they're proofreading their written work as well. All you would need to do is to click into the settings menu, and within the speech settings we're going to turn on continuous reading. Press OK, and now when I press play and read through this work, it will continuously read through the entire document or essay or whatever the piece of writing is that you're trying to revise and edit.
Of Mice and Men is centered around two itinerant workers, George and Lenny, in California in the 1930s as they start work on a ranch in a place called Soledad, a Spanish word meaning solitude. The whole story takes place over.
And you can just press stop if you want to go in and edit something that you've heard, and press play again at the start of the next paragraph and so on. So you can really have that reinforcement by listening to your work being read aloud to you. It's really common when you're reading and proofreading your own work that you read what you think you've written rather than being able to spot your own mistakes. So using Read&Write as a proofreader is a really effective tool for editing your work. So I've just opened up another document now, and you can see that there are a number of spelling errors within it, also grammatical errors too. So CheckUp is Read&Write's grammar, spelling and confusable word checking tool. So we're going to run CheckUp on this document by clicking on the icon within the toolbar. You can see that it will then underline the errors in my document, so I can click on each of these errors just with the left click of the mouse, and this will give me suggestions. So I can select any of those options, and if I click on that, it will be corrected within my document. I can also have the dictionary and picture dictionary open alongside my piece of text as well. Just move this over, and you can see that there's no suggestion with the spelling dealing with two E's. But you can see that if I hover over the suggested words, I am getting that dictionary definition of the word and the picture dictionary reference as well. So this is really helping me correct my own spelling mistakes and making sure that I have written the word correctly within the context now. So I know that when I'm correcting my work, that I now have definitely got the right word. So if I click on that, it will then be corrected within my text and the underline will disappear. So the student can work through their document and correct their spelling and homophone errors as they go. The student doesn't have to have the dictionary and picture dictionary open. Sometimes the correction within CheckUp will be enough to help them identify the correct word, and they can just click on that within the list. I'll just turn off CheckUp there. So now that the student has gone through all of those different processes on their piece of writing, by now the focus will be on the final formatting details. So you could share it with others after this to carry out some peer editing if it was a group assignment, for example, or you could hand it in to your teacher or lecturer for feedback as well. If you're using Google Docs, you can share this directly with your teacher or lecturer. So that brings us to the end of the webinar today, and I'll just pop back to my presentation now. So we do support staff always. So we've got loads of resources available for all of you that would like some more information. You can check out our blog. We have a certification program on our training portal. We have lots and lots of videos and pre-recorded short webinars. So we've got coffee cup webinars that you can watch while you're having your cup of coffee. These are short 10-minute webinars, so we can certainly share those with you. If you are having any technical difficulties, then we do have our tech support team on hand as well. Some of your queries, you may be able to find the answer to this on our website as well, texthelp.com. And we do have our Toolmatcher resource as well. So please do feel free to get in touch and we can help you out with any of that. So as I said, get in touch, I'm here to help. So thanks for watching the webinar today, and if you do have a question after today's webinar, or maybe you're watching the recording of today's webinar, so please do feel free to get in touch with that and I will get back to you as soon as I can. We also have the phone number there as well, if anybody would like to take note of that. Or of course, you can get in touch with anybody from the education team using education@texthelp.com. That's our group email address, so any of us will be able to get back to you with some further support as well. Thanks very much everybody for taking the time to join me today for the webinar. As I said, it is being recorded and I'll get that recording converted and sent out to you for your reference tomorrow. Usually gets sent out about 24 hours after the webinar, so keep an eye out for that coming through to your inbox tomorrow afternoon. Please do feel free to share that with any of your colleagues as well that you think would be interested in the webinar today. Thanks very much everybody for joining me, and I hope that you found the webinar beneficial.